Friends, Romans, today, you might remember, probably not, a long time ago, I made, I think almost a year ago, I think, a short film. And it's not I'm going to say it's not the greatest thing ever. However, I think given what we had, it came out pretty okay. So I'll go through it with my esteemed friend of the channel, Derek here. Feel free to introduce yourself.
Hello, fellas and fellow friends, and apparently Romans. Just Derek here, a longtime supporter of Brad,
Long
his
time listener,
channel,
first time
his
caller.
longtime listener, first time caller, the second time speaker, but first time on record as well. And yeah, we'll be commenting on the film. I have a lot of things to say about it. In fact, I think I had a lot of things to say about this short back when I first saw it, and after mulling over it for a bit more. And seeing it now for the second time, I think it'll be a very cool commentary with a lot of insight, especially from Brad, who was the mastermind behind this whole thing. So I'll be asking him a lot of introspective questions, both when he was making it, after he was making it, and now how he feels about it. So it's gonna be cool.
And it's interesting as well because this was really the first thing I ever properly filmed. It's also when you like I will get into it, but considering the circumstances, it really was something that was done quite quickly. So for all of its faults, it comes out pretty good, I think. But there's a lot of stories, there's a lot of
Yeah,
intrigue that goes into how it ended up being made, all of the little problems that we came across, and just some of the stuff that we weren't really expecting. But I'll say it off the bat immediately that we had maybe 5 hours to actually shoot this, and we had no money. Everyone was a volunteer.
yeah,
We
man.
didn't actually
Take that,
rehearse.
Scott Atkins.
We didn't actually rehearse anything, and we barely planned it. It turned out I felt like we planned it good, and then when I got there, I was like, "Oh shit, we didn't plan a thing. That's not a thing we planned.
Fellas, we're screwed.
We're
We're
screwed."
fucked.
But ultimately, like, that's where you kind of get the experience from as you go about and you do it. So I'm going to be pausing a lot. I don't really know what we would call this.
Sure.
Director's commentary, maybe. Breakdown, probably. But we'll see how it goes.
Overview.
Overview.
Boom.
So the first thing is this text, which actually was pretty much, I'll say it, the last thing I added. The last creative choice I did anyway. Because
Honestly, doesn't look like it. It feels like it belongs here. Like this opening title card, I was like, all right, this is a Brad movie.
this quote, in fact, isn't even what I wanted to have on this title card. I really thought after I made it, I was like, I can't just start right into the movie because people are just gonna be like, well, this is just a whatever. There's no dialogue in the movie,
Right.
right? So it doesn't make
Cinematic.
sense. So I was like, well, I gotta have something in there, but I wanted a quote from some kind of historical figure about rising up the ranks, or proving yourself, that kind of thing. But have you tried actually searching for a quote on Google if you don't like have a specific one in mind?
Yeah,
Nothing comes up. Nothing at all.
can be very difficult. It's not fall down 7 times, rise 8 times. It's you're looking for something that speaks to the theme of what you made, and
Exactly.
I think this does that pretty well.
I was open to like pretty much anything instead of this. Like, honestly, this doesn't really even match the energy what I was going for when I was coming up with a quote. It's good enough. It feels kind of like cliche almost to use Sun Tzu as an example. But what was funny is when I actually showed this to the people at the university, one girl really, really liked this intro. She thought this text intro was
Yeah,
great.
oh, it's great.
Um, this shot,
It feels like it feels like one of those like old school like scrolls that you unfold slowly and you read what the martial arts master wrote on that, and it's like some proverbial like philosophical context to it, and that's how it starts off, and I think it's really cool because now that I think about it, had you just started off with this shot right here, it just fading in on the action. I don't think it would have had quite the same narrative impact if you hadn't used the quote at the start to at least set the stage for what's about to happen.
yeah, because well, there's not really much narrative here. There is something, and there was an idea like from the go. We had the idea of what kind of the story wanted to be, And they're just, if without like anything at the start, there's just nothing there. But immediately, coming to this, we're going to pause a lot. I had this. This was the first thing that I came up with, and this was arguably the most planned moment. It was this intro sequence where the camera. It was meant to be higher, actually. It was meant to be a lot higher, and I was meant to come down and then kind of turn around her, and you'll see as she gets to the front, I end up in front of her, and then the two guys were meant to come in. The difference is that this was supposed to be dark. So the first problem that we had is that every time I went to meet with these Taekwondo experts, it was nighttime. It was what, February? It was which is like, you know, winter. 6-7 o'clock at night, pitch black in there. And I thought foolishly, oh well, you know, they've got like sheets and they've got these blinds. If I put those blinds up, it'll be dark in here, and then these lights, which were meant to look like floodlights, they're actually just set lights. I thought they wouldn't stand out that much because they kind of look like floodlights. And so you'd have those on the outside, and then it would be kind of pitch black, and then in the centre it would be lit where everyone is going. And I tested these in the university in the dark rooms, and they were good for that. They really did make it look like, you know, the outer rim was totally dark, but those blinds didn't obscure the darkness at all. It was so bright in there. And I was going to shoot it all in HDR because it made things darker, it made the lighting more dynamic. So I was a bit disappointed.
So that is a lesson to all of you folks listening about to make your own martial arts action short film, that if you don't think that the premises where you're shooting are enough to accommodate the lighting that you want specifically, over-prepare in the pre-production. and because it will end up helping you.
And it's worse as well because this place is very clearly a community centre. When it's lit, because you can see all of the flyers on the board that are like, come to the local knitting club. And another thing as well is you'll see there's a woman there in the background. She was to get on a lesson. There's another one there. These people were like friends and family of the actors in the movie who came to watch and support. But because, and this is another thing that I think you only get with experience, not even just a director experience, but just experience in general, experience like managing or leading a team or whatever. I didn't have like the confidence or the what's the word, authority to like feel like I could say, can you please, you know, we're outside. It was February. It was cold outside. There wasn't really another room in this place, and I was like, and this is a problem that will come up a lot. Like, there's bits where I just don't tell people what to do. And we'll shoot stuff, and they'll be like, "Oh, is that good? Are you happy with that?" And I'll be like, "Yeah." When I really want them to do another take, but yeah. So that was a big problem. So these people are going to be in the background. They're going to be attracting focus. They're going to be a continuity nightmare. As later on they get McDonald's. So look forward to seeing that happen in the middle of the movie.
Yeah, man, time is passing. I think it's pretty cool. You're showing how, you know, this fight has been going on for so long. You kind of create this illusion of time passing.
It was supposed to just be those 3 minutes, but the problem is of course, like, you see them 1 second without them, and then she'll like turn, and then all of a sudden they've got McDonald's in their hands eating a burger.
Well, you know, PR and commercials, and, you know, gotta like
product placement. Pay me McDonald's. Send me the cash right now.
Dude, honestly, if they paid you and you made like a bigger budget action short film for the next time around, I think you would do like an even better job.
The
like you would
McDonald's
have
Warrior,
like
we'll
the
call
scale.
it.
Yeah, McDonald's Warrior, dude. He goes over to Burger King and assassinates the staff. Like fuck yeah, that'd be cool.
So this is another lesson as well. I had this shot so figured out in my mind that I only ever shot it from this angle. And I wanted it to be one long take into this fight scene from that intro where I'm behind her and I come out to the front and they both come in. I also want them both to come in at the same time, but that, again, we didn't actually choreograph anything until on the day. So we had 5 hours, and that ended up being cut down because we had a camera fault, and it also got cut down because they had to rehearse and we had to figure that, like, the stuff out there. So they come in, and you'll notice there's like like around just before they start fighting, there's like a crash zoom, like an old Shaw Brother movie, right into her face. That's because we had one good take where I had the camera the right height when I was following her. One good take. And instead of being able to cut to like a different angle so it looked natural, I only ever shot from that angle, so all of the other angles were the same. So it was like, I either have the bad take coming in and then have the good fight scene, or I have the good take coming in, but then I have a fight scene where you can't see anything, or like they flub or whatever else. And I couldn't like work in those fight scenes because again I didn't shoot from any other angles. It was always the same angle. Because even here you can see like we managed to do this whole section without any cuts. I think there's a section in this where I lose one of them for a second. But otherwise, I was pretty pleased how this one actually came out overall. But this was the most planned one. Everyone likes that shot. That was another sloppy cut there as well. It's a bit of a storytelling there. Immediately cut to this next guy. This guy was called Neil, and he was a godsend because, like I was saying earlier, I didn't really have like a lot of authority. What's the word I'm looking for? Authoritative
control, I guess.
I didn't feel like I had the confidence to tell people what to do, and I wanted people to emote more. I wanted people to play it up and do different things. And Neil was like a natural born actor. He knew like what the scene was going to be. I was like, okay, here you're going to fight her and you're going to go for it and you're going to get hit, and then he would do like the I'm in pain, I'm in hurt, which none of the other actors did.
He sold it like a stunt guy. Yeah.
He like played it up, He came up with this this whole bit with the sneaky knife here as well. That was his idea, which is further proof that we didn't actually really plan anything properly. But yeah, he was great. Loved working with that guy.
And I think it's important that we talk about because I know are a huge fan of action films, and you watch martial arts movies almost as much as I do, and you have developed a specific taste for the kind of camera work and the kind of like visual language that you like to see in fight sequences. Is that something you wanted to apply to this short, like bring some of those sensibilities to, or at least try to translate them on screen here?
I definitely one of the key things that I really thought about going into it was I wanted it to have long take like fights. That's always been the thing that gets me the most. I know it's people have split opinions on it, and some people will say like, "Oh, fights can be good anyway." But there's a preference there where I like to see the performers do it for a long time, because to me it feels like a more impressive physical performance. It's like when you watch a musical dance number and you see someone do all of the moves in one go.
Yeah.
It's more impressive. It makes it more engaging to me. So it's not necessarily about like, oh well, it's just better because it's longer. It feels like there's more prowess behind the scenes, and so I definitely want to do that. Typically what I like to see is I like those long static or like low movement shots, but because of the kind of camera I had and because I want to try stuff, I actually ended up moving a lot more. The camera moves quite dynamically in this. I'm moving around people, I'm walking around, I'm trying different things. Something that really I probably, if I was to make my perfect action film, I probably wouldn't have done.
Yeah, because like the specific questions that I wanted to ask you is that I know you're a fan of like the more statics or either like dolly kind of shots in action movies where you get to see the full range of the actors' performances physically on screen, and I assume that the editing also has to like complement that for you, because when you're watching a theatrical performance or a musical, right, you're watching it on stage where the actors don't have the luxury of cuts like they do in the editing.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how you basically absorbed that sensibility and you put that on screen here. But my question is, if you had the option to like know the choreography beforehand and storyboard and visualize it more precisely, would you have done shorter sort of like takes but also have more impact within them, or would you have still kept the long take format?
I think the long take format would have been way better. We actually had some of it was improvised, and a lot of it ended up being way less technical than we were hoping, because ultimately, like I say, they were rehearsing this stuff on the day. Not long after this scene, my camera ran out of battery. Totally unexpected. I was plugging my phone in to get a better picture of what was going on, and for whatever reason, I can't really explain why this happened, the camera was charging my phone. So my camera's battery was draining like 4 times as fast because it was going into my phone. No idea why that was the case. Okay. So we had to stop. The camera charged super slow. But it's this nice little handheld with an automatic gimbal on it that keeps it stable, that you can move around super easy, really small. Really, really pleased with the camera I ended up getting. It was a DJI one, so I'll trust them pretty much forever now because it's a great piece of
Sure.
kit and it wasn't that expensive. Um, so during that for the fight scene after this one, you'll notice that there's a longer piece of choreography, a more complicated piece of choreography. If we go back to the first fight, for example, you'll notice that like there's what I wanted to happen in the initial, like in my head when I pictured it, when I had my vision. I wanted them both to go at her at the same time and have her do some hand-to-hand moves. But they're Taekwondo people. They know Taekwondo moves, and we didn't actually practice anything. So instead, she does, a quick Taekwondo takedown. She does a quick over-the-shoulder throw. Quickly kind of like, and they come in one at a time. These are the things that I think would have been improved had we had the time to rehearse and choreograph. When we did the sequence after the one that we were just on, the one with the staff, which is here, you'll like the actual amount of takes we had to do for that because they kept going, oh well, I was meant to go into the right and I was meant to go into the left. Couple of days rehearsal, makes the huge amount of difference to that. This shot here as well, I also storyboarded this shot where she catches the stuff.
No, this is great. I was about to mention this because like you have the sort of like the hand in the foreground and the actor in the background, so you're getting two of those like narrative beats at the same time in a single frame. And this feels very storyboarded and very precise from a directorial point of view. Was this shot something that you always had in mind to do something like this?
Yeah, because the initial plan was to have like a lot of it be handheld. The knife section, like I say, wasn't in there at all, and so it's like, okay, we're going to start with the weapons. How does she get the weapons? Well, it's a trial, right? So they're going to be giving her weapons. It's not like she's coming to this place and she's fighting them. I felt like it would make it a bit more obvious that this was, she was there as a willing participant, like it was a fair fight when they threw her the staff here. But I did storyboard that. I thought that would be a cool visual.
You know what it's like? It is. I love that shot because it reminds me a lot of the way Sammo Hung used to frame like a lot of his action beats. It was like you see Jackie in the background, and then a hand enters the frame and it's holding a knife, so you get introduced to the threat in the same shot. And that's kind of what you do. Instead, you do the opposite. You have the opponent in the background, and your protagonist is receiving the weapon. So I thought that was a really cool like reversal of that. I love that shot. It's great.
Yeah, it was like he is the next guy, and here's how we're going to get him, kind of a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this scene was kind of a challenge. We shot this scene maybe 5 times, and the initial beat is not so bad. This guy didn't react much. This bit at the end here, you'll notice. Okay. So this guy was really nice. He came in, he was happy to do it. So I feel bad saying this. We shot this about 4 times. He only fell down once. He knew he was supposed to fall down. I don't know what was going on. I was like, this is an example of where I should have been like, braver and bolder and being like, okay, you got to do it this way. So on the last take, I was like, next time, can you, when you get hit, can you fall down and be like, ooh, you know what I mean? And then he did it, and I was like, we can't keep shooting this thing. Shooting it for
like,
ages.
you know what? Never mind.
I was like, that's good enough. That's good enough. And it's not like you'll notice like the first hit doesn't really connect. If we go back to it, that hit doesn't super go well. His face doesn't ever change. He doesn't react at all at first hit. Like it was difficult.
Yeah. The first hit is like he basically was just very static with it.
Yeah, and
but,
you can really.
But you know what I find interesting is that while the hits don't have like the sort of like speedy performance to them to really sell the fact that they're hits, the way you move the camera, you're trying to accommodate them as best as possible with selling like the individual contacts of the hits. And that's what I really like about it. Like even like when you like, hit the actor's head, like the back of his head with the stick, like even the way you framed that, it wasn't from the front, it wasn't from the side, it was from the back. So you could really, so the stick could cover the side of the head that she was hitting.
Yeah.
And that's really clever. Was that something that you were also like, okay, I need to like, try to accommodate these guys as best as possible with the camera?
I think that one was more just, I was trying to add as much movement into this scene as I could. I wanted to kind of like circle around them and be a bit more dynamic with it. Any kind of stuff like that probably would have been thought up on the day as well. The way we, like, outside of the first scene, pretty much everything was kind of storyboarded as how the fight would start and then how the fight would end. So I storyboarded her catching the thing, and then I storyboarded him getting hit in the nuts.
Sure.
But I had a vision in my head of it being different. I wanted it to be like, one of those old style, like Shaolin, hit both the knees and then hit up. And I was thinking like the camera could be behind, but that ended up not being feasible. So they also like felt like they were like, how am I supposed to do it that way? And I was like, okay, well we'll hit one knee and then we'll go up.
Did it ever cross your mind to have the camera low between the guy's legs, and as the stick is hitting the leg and then going up, it hits the nuts, and you sell the hit with the upwards movement of the camera? Did that ever cross your mind?
Outside of the upwards movement of the camera, that was in the storyboard. That was how it was initially supposed to be.
I see.
But it didn't end up working out. And you can see more background stuff. Like Neil is doing a good job because he's still lying on the floor, but Julian here is just on his phone. He's probably ordering that McDonald's.
My man is tweeting about the film as it goes. He's like, fellas,
film, lol,
we just
hashtag.
passed the second fight.
Yeah.
CV next time.
So it was just one of those things, they've been sitting around at this point for like 2 hours. You can't really blame him. I didn't have anywhere else for them to go. So, it is what it is. So we dealt with that. We went, okay, that's fine. He did that himself. He slapped that ground himself. We didn't ask him to do that.
What I want to know is, before he slapped down on the ground, you do this like crazy like zoom out from him. Was that done in post, or was that something you just racked the zoom really quickly?
That was edited in. That was out in post, yeah.
I see. What was the reasoning behind that? Were you trying to do like a Shaw Brothers or like 70s Kung Fu homage with those crash zooms?
I think what it was is there was something in frame that I didn't like. I don't remember what it was, and I was like, I was watching it back and I was like, oh fuck, we can't have that in frame. So I was like, I'll start off zoomed in and I'll zoom out, and it does kind of look like a Shaw Bros thing. I probably was thinking that because when I did it in the cut at the start as well, I cut to her face, I was like, what would Lau Kar Leng do? He would zoom right into their face and then zoom out. That's what he would do.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
yeah.
That's ultimately what I did.
So it's cool that even subconsciously you're interjecting a lot of like martial arts references and homages that people like us will definitely notice, but for others it might just be like a stylistic thing. Yeah, it's cool.
We had Jill here standing in the middle of them through the whole thing, but I really like the way this is framed because the rest of the fights all start near where she is, and we came around during the last fight and now we're over here, which is I think good continuity. But what I like about this, what I didn't realise, when I first did it, was that this ends up kind of looking like the Shang Tsung level in Mortal Kombat. He's there sat in the background. This was the most...
Well, it's very symmetrical because she's lined up in the background between all three doors, or rather the two doors in the window. So, yeah.
And so this was the most rehearsed fight. Like I said, the camera died before this, and I was over there charging it for ages, so they'll probably have their McDonald's by now. And it came out, I think, as probably one of the better ones. And because they're using weapons, they clash together. You get actual like contact, which isn't something that is super present in some of the other ones. We try and hide it well. I think some of the sound effects probably need to be a bit deeper. They're a bit high pitched sometimes.
Crunchier, yeah.
Yeah, but otherwise, this is probably my favourite scene. Because it's not a super complicated thing, but it's a long sequence with different motions in it.
Yeah, a lot of changing trajectories for the swords. It's pretty cool.
The reason why I moved around so much in this one was because I was paranoid about being too still. And I was like, I've got to put some movement in there. I didn't want to just stay still. I like that turnout though.
Yeah, I like that sort of like transition as well with the zoom. That was cool. Did you ever have in mind to do like an over-the-shoulder long take, like from one of the characters' perspectives, to basically sell the hits even more?
So we did only one of those, didn't we? Near the start with the roundhouse kick.
Yeah.
I did think about doing more of those. The problem I had was that I felt like I was too close already as it was, and so I did want to do stuff like that. I did think about stuff like that, but when I was actually there in the thing, I was thinking like, I don't feel like... This is obviously just a me thing, being self-conscious or whatever, or being shy or not being very like confident. But I was like, I can't be like this close to them. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be weird. So
Yeah,
I was
plus you would
keeping my
have to
distance.
know when they would like back up, and you would
Get
have to
whacked in the
watch out that
face.
they don't
Yeah,
back up into you, yeah, or something like that. But if you think about like the traditional structure of fight sequences in cinema, it's always like over the shoulder shots between the two opponents, and then there's the wide shot that has them diagonally facing each other. So it's like it's funny how you chose to specifically orient yourself around the diagonal wide frame of both opponents in the frame. And is that something you would, for for the future, you would reconsider? Like you would do more over the shoulder shots, or would you continue down this sort of like path you chose?
I think with more rehearsal time, with more practice, with more planning, especially. I realized
Sure.
I felt like when I wrote all those storyboards, I felt like I planned loads, but it really didn't feel that way when we got there. Um, I would have like the time and confidence to feel like I could be that close. I think that's ultimately what it's all about. Like, not alongside getting more experience and getting more confidence, like to be that like I wasn't sure about being that close. I wasn't sure how it was going to look. I wasn't sure how it was going to feel just being in the presence. You see behind the scenes footage of films sometimes, and you'll have like cameramen practically like hanging on to the guy or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like quite a bit further back than that. I was like, can I like what can I do? But I think with more time rehearsal, when we know where the hits are going, when we know where people are moving, then I'll know how close I can actually be, and I
Yeah.
can
I
get a
mean,
lot more in there.
your overall sensibilities for fight scenes are, the kind of stuff that, martial arts fans usually love. It's the idea of wanting to showcase the performer as best as you can with longer takes so that you see the full range of motions, as well as, the ability to memorize each of the choreography beats. Like that's what a lot of people don't know about fight sequences. It's not just the ability to perform each individual hit, it's the ability to memorize what comes after what and
Yeah,
being in tune with your partner who's also going through the exact same journey. And I think what you achieve by the end of this short kind of demonstrates that, where it's like, okay, you know what? If these actors had more time to rehearse and they felt more comfortable with the speed and fluidity of each other's movements, you would be knocking it out of the park. Like they'd be going like full speed, and then it wouldn't matter like how precise the camera would be because you would just be getting the raw performance that's already good. So, yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And like I say, it's just like at the end of the day, when you consider everything that we had, you know,
Yeah,
it,
for
it
5 hours? Damn, bro.
and really it was 4 hours of filming, probably actually more like an hour and a half of filming, and like an hour of rehearsal, and then an hour and a half of my battery being filled, and then an hour of setup. That's probably the actual time frame. I think I remember reading once when I was at university something like, for every minute you film, you want to have at least like an hour and a half footage,
Yes.
and
Yeah. I mean,
we got four
yeah,
minutes almost.
it's
It's really not that
like
bad.
you and I, we're like big fans of Scott Adkins. The number one thing that he always says in his interviews is like, I don't really care about the money. I wish we had more time
Yeah,
to do those fight scenes because time on set is like pretty much equilateral to money because it's like with the time on set, the more of it you have, the more you can rehearse, the more you can fine tune the details, and the better it ends up looking on screen because everyone is like in tune with everything. And yeah, man, it's surprising that you got this much out of just 5 or even like 4 hours. Like it's very impressive,
yeah.
especially with like no concrete plan with each of the choreography pieces. It's super impressive.
It's lucky, like I said, that we had like these people trained together. The lead girl here and the guy sat in the corner there who had the McDonald's, a brother and sister, and so they all knew each other relatively well. They train together pretty regularly. They don't usually do stuff like this, granted, but they're like, okay, we're happy to take hits here and there. We're happy to have flubs, and as long as we can get it down. And they did the moves that they're comfortable with, that they know. That's how we were able to improvise and get it quickly. Because I realized, very early in the day that like any complicated stuff that I might have had in my head, we're probably not going to be able to do. Because they're going to be
Sure.
able to do what they know what they can do, which is their taekwondo moves and the stuff that they train together with, the little spars, the little duels that they do. And they're going to say, like the first fight scene, literally, Hannah was saying to Julian, she's like, okay, you come in and I'll throw you over my shoulder. He'll come in, I'll kick him in the chest, and then I'll go back to you. And it was like, that was it. They were just like, we know what moves will work, we know what will work in real life, we know what we would do in this situation, so we'll keep it simple and we'll keep it brief, and that way we can do it longer. And so that ends up making it come out like a lot better than it really could have been. And that's ultimately why you want to work with people who can do the stuff, whether they're actual stunt guys or whether they're, you know, martial arts professionals or whatever, because they've got the insight to be able to help us if you don't have the experience. If we had time, like I say,
the physical knowledge of what their capabilities are. Yeah.
Because like I say, the first fight, like really what I wanted was for there to be like, for her to like kind of maybe block both ways, like side to side, and then push one of them off, and then, you know, I wanted more hand-to-hand like punches and kicks and combos, and there was a lot more throws in there. But it works in the context of like it all fits, it all looks real, it all works together. But it was something that I realized pretty quickly, like we're not going to be able to do that. We haven't rehearsed, we haven't planned it, we haven't done anything.
Yeah.
We didn't have any time, and because every time I went down there to visit them when they were, you know, they were teaching kids how to do taekwondo. They weren't, you know, sparring. I couldn't go up there and be like, hey, can you try this? Or even like when I was doing my test shots, I couldn't really get the camera in there because they were just like doing drills and training, and so we didn't really have any time to do much of anything. They thought of stuff on their own. They had all these prop weapons were theirs, the costumes were theirs, like the community center is where they train. Like these were all gifts, really. We were handed these wonderfully. We could have, you know, we could have found somewhere, we could have paid money, we could have gone to the university, and they got these tiny little studio rooms. One of which you'll see in the movie that I'm acting in, coming up next month.
Watch out for that, fellas.
Watch out for that. Black Man's Reality coming soon.
Yeah, man.
I'm
Brad
only in it
to play
for a little bit.
Particular role.
but
he's memorable. He's memorable in it.
Well, I hope so. I haven't actually seen it yet. I don't know what it's going to be like, but I'm excited to see it finally come out there.
You will be seeing Bradley Parker in an entirally different light,
exactly.
I can assure you.
Add it to your watch list on Letterboxd. It's on there now.
It's on there.
It's on there now. It's on IMDb as well. I still need to add more of the cast, the like background crew and stuff, but it's on there, and I'm in there.
Yeah. Well, going back to this short, one of the interesting points you raised is that you wanted to do more pieces of the choreography. Like, it's interesting how, like, in a lot of the fight scenes that we watch, it's always like, they call it like the shoe letter, where it's like beats in between the beats, if that makes sense. Like, you got those like almost like special moves, the ones that are like really memorable to the audience, like the John Wickian throws or like the Scott Adkins high kicks. But then you have like punches and combinations in between those moves to sort of like form the fight scene. But here, you didn't have that luxury. You basically had to make up choreography just from the special moves that they know. Yeah. And yeah, it's interesting how you had to basically adapt the actors' abilities and use their toolbox to create a fight sequence. But I think it worked out really nicely because when you go into like some of the weapons fights, it flows extremely well.
You gotta play to your strengths at the end of the day. Like make. I think that's ultimately the best lesson. Like if obviously I've only made one short film, I will make another, I promise, and maybe it'll be better. But obviously I've only made one, so my advice probably is meaningless. But what I would say to people is, if I could give any advice, what I've learned during this experience is, you've got to kind of use what you've got to its strengths. You know, if these people have the natural skills to do taekwondo, and they haven't had any time to rehearse anything else, don't make them do wushu moves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the. You know, don't try and make them fit to what the script is like. If they've got skills that will make it feel better overall, then pivot, be adaptable. You know, it's okay to improvise. It's okay to switch things up, but ultimately, like, you don't have to like lose your vision either. There's no one way to do it, and I think that to me, like, especially like looking at the other students' films that were made during the course that I was on when I made this, you really do have a lot of freedom to make kind of whatever you want. There isn't a right or wrong answer, but I would just say be adaptable, be ready. And if you have something that changes your initial vision, that works, that helps, you may as well use it. Because like I say, it was minute one I was like, it's not going to work like how I had it in my head, but we can use what they're good at and make something still good.
Maximize their potential.
Exactly. So this last fight, this is the one with the most cuts. This was one where the reason why I added in the cuts was because this choreography was pretty tricky, and it was also the last thing we did. We had very little time left. It's a little short, I hope people got that the ending was that she stopped hitting her because she wanted to, respect her.
Sure.
Hope that came across.
Yeah.
But we also had to do the cuts to make it look like she was finally struggling, because she doesn't struggle in any of the other fights. So it was like this was meant to be kind of a step up. Again, we had
Stakes have
more
been
time.
raised. Yeah.
Yeah, they did have a little bit of time to rehearse this, but the left and right movements kept tripping us up. Like, they were getting tired as well. Like, Hannah had been fighting all day. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
it's-
Of course.
So it wasn't the easiest. When I showed this at the university, this shot of her spinning around after getting hit, people really liked that one. That was a really popular
Okay.
cutaway.
Yeah. No, it definitely works because it's the first time you get a close up of the reaction of the hits.
Yeah.
Especially on the lead character. So you do really well with establishing the stakes have been raised for this fight, and that's actually something that like is sort of like seen throughout the short film. Is that I noticed the individual beats of the choreography to you are important, but they're not as important as the progression of the character's story and how she's developing throughout it. And that's something that I really admire because there's a lot of like fight sequences where the choreography is the star of the show, but they forget about the character and the narrative of what it's trying to say. And I think you preserved that here, and it's really quite cool to see because you got your priorities straight. You know that the audience may not necessarily remember each of the individual moves, but they remember how the character felt during it, and I think you saw that really well. Yeah.
It's a difficult balancing act as well. Like, sometimes you think you prioritize it one way, and then when you look at it back, or maybe it changes in the edit. Actually, the interesting thing about this, here's another thing that I'm really glad we did. We actually shot this all sequentially. So we shot first fight to last fight in order. There wasn't anything other than Julian on the floor reacting to getting hit in the first fight. Pretty much everything was in order. So that made it really easy to edit. That made it really easy to get the clips down. We knew where our transitions were. I've heard, BTS from other people going like, "Man, am I glad we shot this sequentially," because we could keep the continuity like it was. So that was really helpful, because you'll notice there's one scene where the tile on the floor breaks, and we were able to keep that in the next scene because we shot it in order.
Yeah.
But it's a balancing act, and sometimes you get lucky, because in my head I definitely had the story in mind, but I don't know if I was prioritizing as much as you like it came across. But sometimes you just get lucky, and when you watch it backwards you go, actually it flowed like really well. Another thing we got lucky with is maybe it didn't come out so much in the video here, but the soundtrack, I had to use a royalty-free song. I got it from the YouTube sound library, I'm not going to lie. And it's a simple, I wanted it to sound like, the scene in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon where Michelle Yeoh is chasing Zhang Ziyi on the rooftops, and they got that drum-heavy soundtrack. I wanted something like that. And we got really lucky because... Yeah, and we got really lucky because actually, like, the ups and downs of the song matched the scene transitions, like, weirdly well.
That's what it's all about. It's finding that kick, that right there, that shot, that Brad sold extremely well. It sold so fucking well because you positioned the camera exactly where it was supposed to be so that it looked like a hit, but also the guy receiving it, he really sold it as well.
That was storyboarded, as was them two getting kicked into each other as well. That was storyboarded as well.
And that's kind of what I mean about the conversations that we usually have on social media. It's like the reason I'm a big fan of previs is that you have the ability on set before you roll cameras to start rehearsing and start idealizing the sort of like perfect version of how it's supposed to look, and then on set it becomes easier to recapture that because you have like a visual storyboard that you follow, except it's for a fight scene. And I think that intent with that hit and that reaction was sold extremely well because you knew exactly what you were doing there, and you also had like the time to prepare that shot. It's great. I love it.
I want to say
awesome.
I want to say it's like the first proper cut in the movie as well. Like, I don't think we cut until that moment. So it was very intentional to be like, this is where we want it to be. But just to quickly go back to the soundtrack, what you'll notice is like, it stops just before the next fight. That wasn't something I edited. That was just how that song went. It just happened to line up perfectly. I couldn't believe it when we played it. I was like, I can't believe that's how it worked out. So we got really lucky with the soundtrack as well, thanks to the guy from where's he's in these credits somewhere. this guy. I don't think I can say his name, but thanks to him and his YouTube sound library, God bless him.
Sure.
And thanks to all of my actors, they all came through and did a great job.
Yeah, no, kudos to everyone.
And like I say, it was a small thing. I wanted to shoot on the camera myself. I'd never really done that before. The university staff were really adamant. They were like, "Oh, you've got to get someone who's got cinematography experience to help you out." And I was like, "I don't know." It was meant to be a collaborative effort, so I managed to have some friends help me edit it at least and do some of the sounding. But otherwise,
sure.
I kind of wanted it to be my own like complete vision, which is why I filmed it myself, which is why I edited most of it myself, which is why I found the music myself. Set up the lighting. I set up that myself as well. We didn't really have a crew. The actors, helped.
Yep.
That was about what it was. But I hope, like, upon seeing this, because like I say, it's rough around the edges. They're not the greatest fight scenes. It's like I say, the atmosphere.
No, but the intent is there, Brad, and that's something that not a lot of people can say about their short films, especially not their first short films. Their first short films usually look a lot more scattershot and a lot more disorganized than this. Whereas this feels like, even though like the composition or the performances or like the exact physical reactions are not quite there yet, the intent of what you were trying to say and how you were trying to say it is there. Like you could definitely sense that, okay, Brad likes this kind of shot. Brad likes this kind of like action. Brad likes this kind of performance. He likes these kinds of narrative beats. And it feels like you have a voice in this short film. And that is the greatest starting point anyone could really have.
It's definitely one of those things though where it's like, if you didn't know it was like a student film and a first short film or whatever else, especially on the immersion factor with the set design, it's rough. There are certain bits of the fight that maybe the hits don't look that great or the choreography isn't complicated or whatever else. But I think when people, maybe if they watch this video, if they watch the whole thing, when they look back and they see what we had, how long we had, what we did, and the problems we encountered and how we came up with them, and the fact that we only had this one day. This was like the one chance we had to do it. We had to get it right on that one day. Nobody. I think pretty much everyone else would say like you don't just do it on one day.
Sure.
you give yourself time. You got to plan. You got to do all this stuff. I think when you consider that stuff, what we actually came out with is good. It's
definitely.
It's a lot better than it has any right to be. Even if it's not great, it's like everything together with it. It's a lot better than it has every right to be. And I'm quite proud of it.
As you should be, Like I said, it's a great starting point. Like there's ideas here, there's a vision, there's like an overall sense of what you were trying to accomplish with the narrative. There's a progression to the character's arc. Like she learns, she adapts, and I think it's very meta-contextual that you yourself were learning and adapting on set, and it kind of like bleeds through the main character as well. It's pretty cool. I love the bit where the guy pulls out a knife and it's all of a sudden like a big twist surprise, and you really don't see it coming, and that was done extremely well as well.
My nephew loved that bit. He thought it was so funny.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so your ability to listen to the actors as well, like coming up with those kinds of ideas and going like, you know what? Yeah, let's do that. So that's a great sign. That's good leadership.
And you know what? It's fun to be on the set. Like when you've experienced it once, like for all of the difficulties, for all of the stress, for all of this, that, and the other, actually making something and actually being there and doing it, like that's something I think everyone should try. And I hope everyone, if everyone has a creative mind in themselves, they can go out there and they can give it a go and have some fun and really experience it, And I also hope that people will watch this video and have a good time. I always find stuff like this interesting. I know this is like a nobody short film, and there's going to be a long breakdown video for it, but I still think it's interesting because you never know how things are made. I always find this stuff really fascinating whenever I hear it, even if it's just like for a little thing like this.
For sure, yeah. I mean, whoever sees this, like whoever sees the short, and they're wondering, like, oh, I wonder what, like, the intent was here. This will always exist to sort of like tell them and give them insights. Hopefully, we've provided enough insights about the entirety of it that they feel fulfilled.
The people who are questioning, how come that guy's eating McDonald's? What's with those signs on the back that say Granny Drinking Club this weekend? Well, we got to the bottom of it. we sorted this out. I'll spend however many minutes editing this. But thanks for joining me, Derek.
Yeah, no problem.
You can catch Derek
was a joy.
on his own YouTube channel where he makes. Well, how would you describe him, Derek?
They're music videos, I would say. Yeah.
They're music
videos for films.
For films, the edited fight scenes. He's a great editor, so feel free to go check him out. The link will be in the description, and probably, I think you can add people in video titles now, so maybe he'll be there too.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, featuring Brock's Rocks. Yeah,
Brock's Rocks. So check him out. He's also, well versed in the action cinema. So if you're interested in action cinema, make sure to follow him on social media as well.
Yeah, I talk a lot about movies on Twitter for sure.
He's always
interesting takes.
He's always finding the new DTV movie that no one has seen yet, and posting about it and letting us know what it's all about.
Keeping people up to date,
Yeah. And I guess that's it.
Yeah.
So, how do I usually end these videos? It's been months, Derek, since I made a video.
Damn, son, you've gotten rusty.
I've gotten rusty. What do I usually say? I usually say something like,
thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Feel free to comment, subscribe. That'd be even greater. And
even like the videos you like. But if you don't want to do those things, I'm not going to force you. It's your life.
Maybe even share. Sharing.
If you want to share it,
that means you're caring.
That would be very nice. But I usually say something like, if you don't want to do that, well, that's okay. It's your life. At the end of the day, I hope you're having fun. Either way. Well.
Yeah.
Farewell, fans and friends.
Yeah. See you guys next time.